Hello, I am Fiona Sitkin, a host of a talk show, The Bridge for Women Worldwide. Welcome to the new episode of The Bridge, my friends. In my talk show, as well as in my blogs and the recent book, How They Made It in America, the focus is on women role models. Why? Because I would like all the people, especially women, to hear their stories, get inspired, and use their excellent ideas and blueprints to up their own lives. That's why. Today, the topic is discussing the D word. This is our topic for today. And we are starting Susan McCuistion today, who is the president of Day One LLC and the author of a new book, The D Word, 12 Steps to Diversity Recovery. Today, you will hear the story of a professional woman, of her success under stress. You will learn what it takes to succeed in an industry who saw many ups and downs, and which approach was really broken for reasons more than one. You will also learn how Susan created a new approach and became an achiever in her own right. So stay with us to the end, please. Welcome to our talk show, Susan.
Thank you so much, Fiona. I'm so happy to be here.
I am really happy to see you. Ladies and gentlemen, let me introduce Susan McCuistion properly here. I love and admire Susan for a reason. She's a strong woman, and she's an integrator of cultures and ideas pertaining to modern diversity and inclusion. She's capable of translating her own personal experiences into the work she's doing for the people. Basically, she's convincing them that humanitarian and compassionate diversity is the way to go in our disjuncted and polarized society. By the way, Susan grew up in a family of a Swedish-American father and a Native American mother in Las Vegas and Chicago. So you see that early in life, she had to marry the diverse values of her extended family and friends. And this made her very strong and very open-minded. Her book, The D Word, integrated the practices she gained at the Hewitt Associates on the one hand, and at her own personal business practices at the other hand. Thank you for coming to our show, Susan.
Oh, thank you for that wonderful introduction, Fiona. Thank you so much.
That's all right. Let us start. And let us start with a question I wanted to ask you when I first learned about you. Was becoming a diversity professional your own conscious choice, or were there some life circumstances that pushed you into it?
Oh, it is an interesting story. I actually studied mathematics in college. I thought I was going to be a math professor. Wow. And I was in studying for my PhD in mathematics. I was in my 8th year of college math. And one summer as a filler in graduate school, I took an intercultural communications course.
Uh-huh.
Yeah. And in that course, we watch, if anybody's familiar with Jane Elliott, there's actually a class I'm teaching right now. We still use it. It's one of those foundational pieces. Jane Elliott was a third grade teacher in Iowa in the 1960s and 70s. And she was trying to explain to help her young students who were all white understand racial tension. And she did this experiment called Brown Eyes and Blue Eyes. And we watched that in that graduate class. And after that video, I knew that this was my work.
So you were hooked.
Yeah, I was hooked. Absolutely. I knew this was what I had to do.
Thank you so much for clarification. So being a diversity consultant, you learned hands-on the diversity approach has been broken for a long time, right? Now, here's the question. When exactly did it become clear in your mind? What happened?
You know, in a way, I feel like I've been writing this book my whole career in the diversity field, and I think really within the last maybe 5 years or so, it started to become very clear. You know, we were having a lot of really public incidences of some of the systemic issues that were going on, and you know, we see companies closing. You know, there's something in the news, you know, maybe somebody's been treated unfairly and there's something in the news and a company will close for 1 day of unconscious bias training. Like that's supposed to fix all their problems, right? And it just, I really started thinking about it. What are they trying to prove? And I started to recognize that this was really, for companies like that, it was really about optics, and it was really about publicity. It wasn't really about fixing the problem. And I think for me, that's where it all started to come together.
I see. Thank you so much. Susan, was it easy to start shedding light on the long-term myths around diversity, or did you have any difficulties? And this is what I mean. I remember that Shakespeare's Hamlet once said, quote, "There's something rotten in the state of Denmark," end of quote. So he faced many difficulties, a sea of trouble after that. How about yourself?
Yeah, you know, I would say so. I think when I really started to put this together in terms of compassion and this more humanitarian approach, I don't think folks were ready to listen. As a matter of fact, I had somebody once tell me that they were offended by the idea of compassion with diversity. And I thought, wow, that's a really interesting reaction. And I think what's happened, though, in this last year, there's been this confluence of events, you know, with COVID and then the murder of George Floyd. And we almost had to watch it because we were all inside because of COVID, and we had to. And I think for the first time, you know, I've been doing this almost 25 years. For the first time, we now have an incident that I really think has not gone away. I think it has affected everybody. And I think people really are ready to now start to understand that, yeah, we are all human.
Yeah.
Right? And so I think, you know, for me, it really was that step of people weren't ready for this. And now is the time, though. Now is the time.
Yes, I agree. I totally agree with you. Now, could you share a little bit more about your concept, diversity, tough love? How different is your approach from the traditional one?
Yeah, so my approach with the idea about the 12 steps and this being more of an addiction, you know, I think that we're just kind of addicted to these old ways of doing things that, you know, we're not willing to kind of take that step. We'd rather sit here and complain about what's not working rather than focus on what is working. And so, you know, from my perspective, what I want to do is really just have people make a shift. And rather than fighting against things that are wrong, start to stand for things that are right. Get focused on the solution. So instead of fighting against hate, stand for love, right? So we really want to get focused on what we're standing for. And with that comes that diversity, tough love. And that's really meant to expel some of those myths that are out there about diversity, right? So like things like, diverse. We like to say, oh, diverse people. What does that mean? Like, what is it? You know, we're all diverse. You put any two people together, you know, people might look at us and see, you know, oh, there's two white women, except we've got very different backgrounds, right? They'll be able to hear that when we speak, right? And so we're all diverse. And I think that's one of the things that we have to start recognizing. And so my approach with the tough love is really to start to expose some of those myths that are out there about the work and help people understand that.
That's a very useful concept. Then.
Thank you.
You know, yeah. People think very differently what diverse means, and everybody says something else. Yeah.
And the definition of diversity is just different. And, you know, that's all it is. And we are all different, and we are all human, right? We all do want to be respected. And so how do we balance and connect on those things that we have in common and balance that with those differences and start to recognize those differences as well?
Yeah. Yeah. Well, thank you for thinking and acting like you do. It takes courage, I know.
Thank you.
Let us now talk about your book, The D Word. It's an excellent title, by the way. I absolutely love it.
Thank you.
And I also like that you have crystallized 12 steps to diversity recovery, what to do and how to do it. Could you please give us a gist of it?
Yeah, so my focus really is on these 12 steps. Again, I think we, as you've said, you know, that system is broken and how do we fix it? So the first 5 steps really start to get focused on some of the stuff that's broken, some of those myths, things about diversity is all about them. And you know, we're all human and that kind of stuff. And then the next 7 steps, you know, what do we have to add to this? And that's really where I start to integrate some of those other concepts. So you know, these ideas about vulnerability, you know, I read a lot of Brene Brown, right? She talks about vulnerability. Emotional intelligence is one of those skills that we really need to build on and learn, and you know, Daniel Goleman. So those next 7 steps really start to focus on what are the skills that we want to build. And I also wanted this to be really helpful. So at the end of every chapter, there are, you know, 3, maybe 5 ideas that people can put into practice right away to start to build these skills and work through the steps.
Yeah, well, thank you so much. Thank you for sharing. You pay a lot of attention to values in your concept of diversity work, and that I absolutely love it. Let us discuss now your personal values, the values that made you you.
Yeah.
As you may know, my recent book, How They Made It in America, features 18 outstanding American women succeeding in our country big time. I distilled their common values that help them move up in life and career. And now I'm wondering which of these values are also your own that helped you in life.
Yeah. Oh gosh, this is great, Fiona. You know, I think part of this, you know, inclusive leadership. I mean, that is the work that I do on a day-to-day basis. Emotional intelligence is really important. It's actually, as I already mentioned, right, part of my book as well. And that idea that we can use our emotions as our guide. You know, if things are working for us, we feel good. If we're frustrated, it means something's not in alignment. And so how do we, you know, how do we connect and get back in alignment? So that emotional intelligence is really important. And I think the other thing for me is that it's kind of the top 3 you've got listed here, those communication skills and creativity. That's really what this is about. How do we start to connect and talk and with each other across difference? I think we're so polarized right now, we have lost the ability to actually even talk to each other about difference. And so those communication skills are really important.
Yeah, I see. Thank you so much. Thank you, Susan, for sharing. Inclusive leadership is your middle name. That is mine. Well, yours is a success story of a lady who continues to be a people's person, supporter, and advisor. And this is quintessential for the diversity work. Thank you for being a role model, Susan, for many of us.
Thank you.
And now let me thank our audience for watching The Bridge for Women Worldwide. Please subscribe to our channel. It is now over 6,000 subscribers strong and counting. And also let us connect via these links. YouTube, The Bridge for Women Worldwide, my book site, www.fionasitkin.com, and my email, fiona.sitkin@gmail.com. Please write to me and I will respond, promise. And now Susan and I are wishing all of you to stay well and healthy for years to come. I salute you. Bye-bye.
Bye.